The BRICS nations are not just moving forward, they are already winning the global economic challenge. And the results are pretty amazing. With the world moving away from relying on the US dollar, BRICS is taking the lead in a thrilling transformation that is getting the West's attention, particularly the United States. It looks like Donald Trump's bold proposal for 100% tariffs on non-dollar users is his last-ditch effort to counter a reality that is already unfolding. BRICS is changing the way the world does business. This powerful coalition isn't just redefining trade and finance. It's gaining a decisive edge over Western nations with every move. One of the most exciting things about this big change is that BRICS is moving towards trading in local currencies. This strategic move is more than just a step toward economic independence. It's a declaration of dominance. As BRICS countries quickly catch up with, and in some areas even surpass, their Western counterparts, particularly in agriculture, they are transforming global trade and challenging the long-standing dominance of the US dollar. The future is BRICS, and it is happening right now. For decades, the United States was known as the breadbasket to the world. American farmers fed large groups of people around the globe, exporting more than they imported. But things are changing, and the changes are coming from the fields of Brazil, the steppes of Russia, and the vast farmlands of China and India. Since 2019, we have seen a big change. The US has had trade deficits in agriculture for 4 out of 6 years, which is a big change from what has happened in the past. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation, US agricultural exports, which have traditionally exceeded imports, began to converge with imports approximately 5 years ago. Now, the gap is getting bigger really fast, with imports overtaking exports. This isn't a short-term trend, it's a major shift in global agricultural trade, with BRICS countries stepping into roles previously dominated by the US. China, a major global consumer of agricultural products, is at the heart of this change. China recently made a move that sent shockwaves through global wheat markets by cancelling massive wheat orders from both the United States and Australia. The cancellation of 240,000 tons of US soft red wheat, followed by another 264,000 tons and a staggering 1 million tons from Australia, marked the largest cancellation on record. What's particularly interesting is what happened next. Bloomberg, which is usually the go-to source for this kind of data, couldn't find out where China got the 1.5 million tons of wheat to replace the cancelled orders. This lack of transparency is a direct result of the new BRICS trading systems, which operate outside of the traditional Western-dominated channels. This is going to have a big impact on US and Western farmers. Without a clear view of global demand and supply trends, farmers are essentially flying blind when making crucial decisions about crop planting. This lack of information could lead to overproduction in some areas and shortages in others, which could end up destabilizing global food markets. On top of that, the price of corn and soybeans in the US has fallen by 30% in the last year. Usually, when prices drop like this, it leads to more global demand. But this time, exports haven't risen as much as they usually do. Instead, countries like China are turning more and more to other BRICS nations, such as Brazil, for their agricultural needs. This shift is affecting the broader economic landscape too. The BRICS countries are pushing back against the US dollar's dominance with alternative payment systems. China, the group's economic heavyweight, has made some big moves in this direction. The latest data from the International Monetary Fund shows that over 50% of China's international receipts and payments are now settled in renminbi, not dollars. Brazil and Russia have made a deal to trade with each other in their own currencies, and India is looking into doing something similar. These moves are part of a broader plan to create a more multipolar economic world, one that's less dependent on US monetary policy. The numbers tell a pretty compelling story. When you adjust for the cost of living in different countries using GDP at purchasing power parity, the BRICS economies are now bigger than the G7. China is leading the way with a GDP of $35 trillion, followed by the US at $28.8 trillion and India at $14.6 trillion, according to the latest IMF data. This economic clout is making an impact in the real world. More countries now have China as their biggest trading partner than the US. This is a huge change from just 2 decades ago. This is changing the way global trade works and influencing economic alliances. The BRICS are also making strides in financial infrastructure. The new development bank, which is used to be called the BRICS Bank, is increasing lending in currencies other than the dollar. This move, led by the bank's president and former Brazilian leader Dilma Rousseff, is creating new ways to fund development that don't rely on traditional Western institutions. The BRICS move towards an alternative international payment system is perhaps the most significant development so far. This system will work outside the SWIFT network, which is mostly controlled by the US. This new system will allow for direct trading without the need for dollar intermediation. It is clear that the collective West, especially the United States, isn't going just to sit back and accept this challenge. Former President Donald Trump has suggested putting some kind of penalty in place for countries that move away from using the dollar, including putting 100% tariffs on them. But these moves could backfire, speeding up the very de-dollarization they are trying to prevent, especially in sectors like agriculture, where there are plenty of other supplies. Many believe China aims to replace the dollar with the yuan as the global reserve currency, but its strategy is more nuanced. While the US benefits from dollar reserve status, it faces trade deficits and deindustrialization. China seeks to create a financial system with diverse currencies for international trade and investment, including agricultural commodities. This approach is gaining ground with countries beyond just the BRICS. The South China Morning Post says Saudi Arabia is open to the idea of a petro-yuan, which could easily extend to agricultural trade. On the other hand, China is reducing its holdings of US Treasury securities. In fact, they have reached their lowest percentage of GDP since China joined the WTO in 2001. China is also buying a lot of gold. These changes are going to have a big impact. JP Morgan said in a recent report that we are probably going to see the start of separate economic and financial areas where different currencies and markets are going to be more important. This regionalization of the global economy could change everything from trade to geopolitics, with agriculture playing a big part in this new landscape. These developments pose significant challenges for the West, particularly the United States. The dollar has been crucial for financing large deficits and projecting global influence. As this system weakens, Western economic dominance may be compromised, making it harder to influence global food prices and distribution. The rise of BRICS indicates a more multipolar world, with the global South gaining a stronger voice in international affairs, evident in United Nations voting patterns and agricultural policy structures. BRICS challenges traditional development views by moving away from the Washington consensus model, inspiring other emerging economies to develop their own agricultural sectors and ensure food security. This growth is not just numerical. It signals potential for further expansion. While many Western economies face slow growth and declining manufacturing, BRICS nations are experiencing a strong economic expansion, with India's economy projected to grow over 6% annually for the next 5 years, and China still outpacing most developed economies despite its slowdown. This growth is changing the way the global economy is structured. Turkey and Mexico, for instance, now have economies that are larger than Italy's when measured by GDP. Indonesia has overtaken the UK and France. These aren't just random stats. They are a sign that there is a major change happening in the global economy. As we look ahead, it's clear that the rise of the BRICS and the broader global South will be one of the defining economic stories of our time. It is a shift that's changing the way we think about global trade, challenging long-held ideas about how economies and firms work, and forcing us to think about how the international financial system works. Businesses, policymakers, and citizens alike must adapt to changes driven by BRICS. It is not yet clear if this will lead to a more balanced global economy or if it will cause tensions to rise. What we do know is that the West is losing its dominance. We are headed into a pretty complex economic landscape. To succeed, we will need to navigate different currency systems, understanding diverse agricultural markets, and adapt to rapidly changing trade patterns. As BRICS grows, they are changing the rules of the game for everyone else. Relevant news will be released during the upcoming summit in Kazan, and we are planning to bring you into the action. We want you to be more than just spectators. We are funding this ourselves, so if you would like to support us, consider a super thanks, donating on our Buy Me a Coffee page, or sharing this video. Any contribution is appreciated. To learn more about future BRICS projects in the food sector, check out this video. Stay curious and stay connected. See you in the next video.